You've probably heard the headlines. 40,000 public sector jobs could be cut over the next few years. 10,000 of those are already gone. And if you live in Ottawa, you're probably wondering, is this something that could affect me buying or selling my home? If this is something that's been on your mind over the last few months, you're in the right place. And here's what I'm seeing in the actual data right now. And it's not just what the panic headlines would have you believe, but it's also not something we can completely ignore. It is going to have an impact. So today, I wanted to cut through some of the noise and talk about how government job cuts could actually affect the housing market in Ottawa, and what to do about that if you're considering buying or selling in 2026. The reality is, Ottawa is a government town. We're home to about 324,000 public sector employees, and 154,000 of those work for the federal government. This comes out to about 20% of the total workforce in the National Capital Region. So when the government announces spending restraint, it doesn't stay abstract. It shows up in real household decisions faster than almost anywhere else in Canada. The perception of job security absolutely affects people's buying decisions, whether or not the cuts end up affecting them. So the question isn't, will this affect the Ottawa housing market? It's by how much and when. Let's start with what we actually know. Here are the facts. The federal government has signaled plans to reduce the public service by around 40,000 positions from the peak, which is what we reached in 2023 and 2024, about 368,000 public servants. Now, reporting suggests about 10,000 jobs have already been eliminated over the past year, largely done through attrition. Now, an important nuance that can get missed is government cuts doesn't necessarily mean mass layoffs starting tomorrow. A lot of this is accomplished through hiring freezes, not replacing people who retire or leave, which is called attrition, or selective department restructuring. But even attrition can have a real impact. Fewer new hires, less job mobility for the people who were there, and a general sense of caution among people in the public service. And caution, of course, changes behavior, even if people don't end up getting affected. That being said, if you're expecting the Ottawa market to just fall apart for the wheels to fall off, that's not what the numbers show. In December 2025, the Ottawa-Gatineau region had an unemployment rate of 7.4%, so we actually gained 7,500 jobs from the previous month. So the local labor market isn't collapsing, but the critical thing is the headlines change the behavior. People hear 40,000 jobs and start thinking, understandably, maybe I should wait to make my move. Maybe I shouldn't stretch my finances right now, and maybe now isn't the right time. And that shift in confidence does show up in the housing data. Now, the headline alone doesn't make the market crash, but there are 4 specific channels through which the idea of job cuts in the government and the actual job cuts can make a difference. The first is the one we talked about. It's the psychological impact of the idea of the upcoming job cuts. This kind of hesitancy will make people not want to list their home, upgrade to a bigger place, buy their first home, or take out a larger mortgage. And that pause is demand cooling, even if no one's actually been laid off yet. Number 2 is qualification and affordability. Even a minor job disruption can affect what you qualify for, which means fewer people will qualify at a higher price point. More buyers will set lower budget ceilings, either because they have to or because they're worried about a potential job loss. And more deals fall apart on conditions because people either get cold feet or they have a change in their employment situation. The third thing to keep in mind is that the specter of job cuts hit different sections of the market unevenly, especially in a market like Ottawa, where there's a big difference between what freeholds and what condos are doing. Sectors that are hit first are entry-level buyers, so anything with an affordable price point. Also, people upgrading to a larger house who would be taking on a larger monthly payment, and sections of the market that are already under pressure, such as the condo market in Ottawa. Sections of the market that are going to stay pretty resilient will be well-priced family homes that suit a lot of lifestyles in desirable areas, neighborhoods where supply is consistently tight and there's an amount of scarcity, and properties that offer clear value for dollar. In other words, Ottawa won't move as one market, it'll split along affordability and segment lines. The thing to keep in mind is that as these changes start to take effect, there's going to be a lag effect between the news and what's happening and what shows up in the housing market. The stats don't change immediately in response to the underlying market drivers. There's usually a lag of at least a couple of months. Here's what the sequence normally looks like. The headlines hit, people get scared, people wait and see what actually happens. Households gradually adjust their plans, and then inventory and demands patterns shift over a 3 to 6 months period. So if you're looking for one big dramatic moment, it's not going to come, but there's a good chance it's already happening. So what this means for you is if you're planning to buy in 2026, you want to make sure that you're planning on staying in the place that you purchase for at least 5 or so years if you can. The payment needs to work comfortably so that you're not barely getting by. You're buying something that's going to be okay to hold through a choppy period or two, and you have a real financial buffer to protect yourself against surprises. You should pause and rethink your decision if you think you might need to sell in the next couple years, if you're stretching financially in order to make the payment and relying on everything going perfectly, if you'd be seriously stressed out even with a short disruption to your income, or if you're buying in a segment where that's already weak without a long-term plan. If you're a government employee watching this, the message isn't don't buy for sure, but it's don't buy into a fragile situation. Buy with margin, buy with time, and buy with the intention to hold for a longer period of time. If you're somebody who's considering selling in 2026, here's what happens. Buyers are going to get pickier. There's no way around it. And the reason for that is they have more options. They can take longer and they can negotiate harder. So sellers who win in 2026 are going to do three very boring things correctly. They're going to price correctly from day one, which isn't always easy to do. But you need to price where the market is now, not where you wish it was. Testing the market is not something that's going to go well this year. Number two is you need to present like a product. Professional photos. Staging is necessary. Obvious repairs need to be done, and it needs to be clean and decluttered in order to stand out. In a cautious market, buyers are not going to overpay for just good enough. They're going to pay for the property that's clearly the best option in the price range. And number three is to do everything you can to make your prospective buyer feel safe getting into your property. Make it easy to schedule a showing, have all the documents and repair bills ready, and do a pre-inspection if you can so that you can head off any of the concerns they have about upcoming expenses. Buyers are going to be nervous already buying into this market, so do what you can to reduce the friction in any way possible. Now, if you want to stay grounded in the reality of what the market's doing and stay away from the fear of the headlines, which is really easy to get wrapped up in, there's three market stats I would recommend taking a close look at every month. The first is Ottawa-Gatineau's unemployment rate. Is it actually rising, or is it holding at 7.4% that we had in December? The second is sales volume. Is demand actually dropping, or are people still transacting? It also makes sense to keep an eye on prices by the same token. And three, and the most important one, is months of inventory. Months of inventory tells us where pressure is building, which segments are absorbing it, how long is it taking to sell each type of property. When those three indicators start moving in the wrong directions, then we can start to talk about the real housing impacts. And it won't just be based on vibes or headlines. This is when we will be able to say, okay, something is going on here. Government job cuts are real, and the risk, especially to the Ottawa market, is not imagined. But panic doesn't help you make better decisions. Good data does. So if you're buying or selling in Ottawa in 2026, the play is simple. Be realistic, be patient, and build in a buffer if you're someone who's purchasing. Please feel free to drop a comment below. Let me know where you think the market's going. And if you have any questions or want any specific data, never be shy to reach out. I would be happy to help in any way that I can. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic rest of your day and take care.